Hello, everyone, and thank you all for joining the stream. Today is first of June. Summer has begun, and I think today will go down in history as a day when fate of humanity were decided. There is a high probability of that, and once I will go through some news, probably you would agree with me on that. Once again, thank you all for joining the stream. It's a community chat. Although, of course, I will share some news. There will be a news segment, and after I will be, actively engaged in a chat, and I will try to answer to questions or the comments that community will write. Of course, priority will be given to questions or the comments that I might receive during the stream, either through super chat on Rumble or through support platforms, PayPal, Boosty, and so on. All the links are under this, under any my video, really. But anyways, thank you all for joining the stream, and many thanks to everybody who will either join later on or will watch this stream after it will end. And as I said, it's going to be a historical day today in many ways because, well, in last hour or two, Saturn developments clearly made it clear that we are about to witness some major developments on a world scale, I guess, because, well, initially I was, not just initially, but I'm still planning to share with you information about terrorist attacks of Kiev regime on Russian railway network. And for example, in the Kursk and Bryansk regions were, trains targeted. According to some reports, trains were targeted in some other areas also, and in the Bryansk region, as a result of explosion, according to, yet again, preliminary data, as a result of explosions on a bridge while train was going underneath of this bridge, passenger train. Of course, bridge collapsed on a train itself, and as a result of this terrorist attack, that was obviously conducted by this Western-backed terrorist regime of Zelensky, 7 passengers died, and dozens and dozens of passengers were wounded. And as I said, there was several such attacks on railway network in Bryansk region, in the Kursk region, according to some reports in Zaporozhye region. And then, by the way, just about like 2 hours ago, news broke that, well, there was a massive drone attacks on Russian military airfields, where strategical aviation is based in the Murmansk region, in Irkutsk region. And according to some sources, overall, 4 air bases were targeted. This is preliminary data, by the way. We are still waiting for official statements from either Defense Ministry or Kremlin. But air bases were targeted where strategical aviation is located, based, and videos are circulating on internet. And I did share some of the videos, not all, but some of the videos. And in these videos, you can clearly see that, well, these drones were operated by Ukrainians. So it was Ukrainian attacker, and main intelligence directorate of Ukraine's defense ministry confirmed that they are behind of these massive attacks on Russian military airfields. Kyiv regime is claiming that they destroyed up to 50 planes, including A-50 AWACS plane, and 295 strategical bombers and 222 M3 long-range bombers. Yet again, there are no official statements for this particular moment from Russian side, and therefore, we just don't know scale of these attacks and what kind of damage was done. Just a report on the TASS news agency that there was a drone attacker on a military unit in Irkutsk region. No precise information at this point. And this is obviously a big deal, by the way. This is big deal because this is a strategical, this is Russian nuclear triad that was attacked by NATO. Of course, we all understand that behind this attack is NATO, and they are just using Ukraine as their proxy, right? This attack was organized. I have no doubt that this attack was organized and supported with whatever is necessary by NATO member states, US, UK, first of all. And it's a big deal. And that's why I'm saying, by the way, today may go down in history as the day when fate of humanity was decided, because I guess right now, as I'm reporting about these developments, most likely there is an emergency meeting somewhere in the Kremlin or somewhere else, and Russian response is being discussed by Russian political and military leadership. This is yet again biggest strike on Russian nuclear triad. And according to Russia's nuclear doctrine, if nuclear triad is attacked, then Russia, based on Russian laws, by the way, has every legal means to retaliate with nuclear strikes. And well, I'm a bit confused, by the way, at this point, because this is a very, very big deal. This is a very big deal. I don't know what kind of decision Moscow will make, but it is becoming clear. It is becoming clear that globalists, neocons in US, and their puppet regimes, either in Europe or in North America or elsewhere, they're not gonna stop until they will face some really severe consequences. And they will have no care if Russia will retaliate on Kiev regime itself, right? They would not stop. And that's why I think probably some very serious topics being discussed right now by Russian political and military leadership. And we will find out soon how Moscow is going to react on this attack on, yet again, Russia's nuclear triad. Well, probably globalists, NATO, by the way, NATO countries, US leadership, British leadership, French leadership, German leadership, were informed, obviously, about this attack. They were behind it, right? And probably they counted their next potential steps. And I would not be surprised at all if either today or tomorrow, in upcoming days, potentially, if Kiev regime will make a statement that they obtained their atomic weapons to deter Russian possible retaliatory strike. Maybe next phase of escalation that I was talking about for a while, by the way, that is going to be transformation of Kiev regime into a nuclear armed regime. Maybe that will be announced either today or in upcoming days, and that way Kiev regime or Western allies of Kiev regime will try to deter Russia from potential massive retaliation for what happened today. It's a possibility. Let's see. And dear friends, as you can see, and on topic of nuclear transformation of Kiev regime into a nuclear armed regime, by the way, when I was saying that this is going to happen, most likely that's what our plans are, in the West. For example, it was yesterday or day before, British officer, the British colonel, during their forum in Odessa, Black Sea Security Forum, stated that UK should assist Ukraine to develop its own nuclear weapons. And this is an officer of the British Army. And obviously, he would not ever make such a statement without being authorized by London, right? So therefore, I'm afraid this prediction of mine also going to become reality, and it's only a matter of time when Kiev regime will announce that it's a nuclear armed regime now. It might happen at any day. And dear friends, I have prepared their full update, full news update. I have plenty of news here, but these latest developments that literally, I mean, this information about attacks on Russian nuclear triad, these Russian airfields where strategical aviation is based, broke just about like an hour, 2 hours ago, something like that. And that, of course, changed everything. This is a major topic. Also, of course, these terrorist attacks on Russian railway network. And who knows, this is clearly some massive attack on Russia organized by NATO countries. And it's only like 11 past 3 in the afternoon. And who knows during the day what kind of additional attacks will take place on Russia. Situation is in process is in development, right? And this is a main topic, dear friends. I see no reason to go through any other news right now. You might ask, what about tomorrow's talks between Moscow and Kiev that should take place in Istanbul? And well, I was saying, isn't it, for quite a while, that globalists will try as much as they can. Globalists and the neocons in US will try to derail these talks, and I guess they did it. I think Moscow will struggle to continue these talks while countries being attacked in this way, and countries' nuclear triad being attacked. I mean, what kind of talks can take place in such a case? Although, who knows, by the way, maybe Russian leadership will decide to send delegation into Istanbul anyways. We just don't know. For this moment, there was no official statements yet about these latest developments, right? And well, I know what I said. What was the main in my understanding. And let's go through chat now. If you have any questions, dear friends, any commentaries, of course, I will be engaged there. Let's have a community chat. But developments are huge, obviously. I will monitor constantly for some updates while stream is on. Modus Cutter, thank you very much for $2 donation on Super Chat. Thank you very much. And yes, I will monitor some media outlets, by the way. And if any breaking news, I will monitor Telegram channels. If any breaking news, I will, of course, share information about it. There is nothing more than I already reported at this point. These airfields, by the way, where strategical aviation is based, were attacked with FPV drones. Russian enemies pulled trucks not far away from these military facilities, and then FPV drones flew out of these trucks. That's how they attack. And as I said, several Russian channels on Telegram reported that it's not just a military base in Irkutsk and Murmansk regions, but also in some other regions were attacked airfields. Yet again, when there is no official information for now, it is difficult to say what is going on. Was just 2 airfields attack or more, but well, we will find out. But most importantly, I guess entire world now will wait how Moscow will respond on this. It's yet again, man. If maybe I'm mistaken, but I think fate of humanity has been decided today. That's how big these developments are. Let's go through some chat now. If you have any question, dear friends, once again, hello, Zarael is here. Hello, Zarael. Hello, Daniela. Hello, everyone, dear friends. And if you have any question or if you want to highlight any commentary, please put capital Q before question so that I would notice it easier. Or entire sentence can be in capital letters. Stefan Heiss is commenting, NATO escalating in the Baltics and the North Sea to disrupt navigation, land war losses. Imagine if they were given air and their sea ceasefire in the Black Sea. Yes, it's not going to happen, dear friends, especially now, I guess. Because if Moscow would agree on 30 days ceasefire, that would look like capitulation, basically, on the Russian side. I think most likely there will be no more talks with either Kiev regime or its Western masters for at least for now, because this is, I mean, maybe some people will not realize, but this is extremely big deal when Russia's nuclear triad is attacked. This is a big deal, and I don't know what is going to happen from now on, but the escalation is out of question, I guess. And I'm afraid globalists and their neocons in US and their puppet regimes in the collective West are emboldened so much so that they wouldn't stop. I mean, they would not stop to further escalate with Russia until if Russia would not force them to stop. And how can Russia force them? I don't even want to go down in that path, but maybe Moscow will have no option at some point but to use some extreme force because, wow. SG is commenting, UK hides behind Ukraine, did these cowards. It's UK and US, by the way. Such operations, we should understand that UK and US and a number of other countries are in this strategical partnership, intelligence services of these countries, Five it called, and they are constantly sharing intelligence, right? And if you believe that this operation, these attacks on Russian strategical aviation, or these terrorist attacks on railway network was conducted without CIA being engaged in this, in planning and providing intelligence and resources, then I don't know. I have bridge in central London to sell. Of course, it's US and UK first of all, and not just the secret services of these countries, but leadership. Of course, when such a attack is orchestrated on a nuclear country as Russia is, of course, leadership of those countries, attacking countries, are authorizing such actions, right? So Trump, I'm 100% convinced, authorized this attack on Russia, and Keir Starmer also authorized this attack on Russia. Probably Macron was engaged involved, or informed at least, one way or another, maybe even leadership of some other NATO member states like Germany, Italy, potentially Finland, by the way. Everything is possible, but definitely this attack on Russia's nuclear triad is orchestrated by NATO member states. There can be no doubts about that. So it is what it is. Question from HB Fasher. Early news here is that the Ukrainians have struck 40 aircrafts. Well, that's what they are claiming. They claimed, I saw on one of the Telegram channels, just because before I start stream, that they, during these attacks, they damage and destroy up to 50 planes, including strategical bombers, which is a part of Russian nuclear triad, of course. And this is what Kyiv regime claims, right? This is what NATO claims. What is the reality? We don't know. All I can tell you, what I saw in the videos, by the way, that if those videos were not AI generated, which is nowadays also a possibility, but if those videos were genuine, then at least 3 Tu-95 bombers were struck. This is strategical bombers. And on one of the videos, if I'm not mistaken, Il-76 plane was struck also. But yet again, this is just based on videos that I saw, right? We should, wait what Moscow will say about all this stuff. And most importantly, question is how Moscow will react on this now. Question from Chakoter. Levan, I heard 2 bridges fell in a Kursk, train got derailed and some people died. Can you comment what was the reason? According to I reported in the beginning of this stream, by the way, I started with this terrorist attack on Russia. According to preliminary information that is available in open sources, these bridges were blown up. And as a result of it, civilian train was derailed, passenger train was derailed in Bryansk region, and 7 people were killed there, and up to 80 people at least were injured as a result of this. Several people are in a very critical condition, including 4 months baby, and this baby was airlifted to Moscow. And the other injured civilians also that were in critical condition also were airlifted in Moscow. So that's what is known for now. There was also reports that in some regions, some other regions also, terrorist attacks did took place on the railways, on the railway network. And yet again, today is a dark day. Today gonna go down in Russia's history as a dark day. Days are obviously, and unfortunately, these attacks continue. So we don't know what else will be attacked during the day. Clearly, NATO is on assault, right? NATO is on assault on Russia, and who knows what else they have their pre-planned and pre-organized, right? And what will happen in hours' time, 2 hours' time. But this is clearly a large-scale assault on Russia by NATO member states. That's how I see, at least, these developments. And I think if Russia will not retaliate with extreme force, not just on Kyiv regime itself, but also on NATO member states that were engaged in this attack on Russia, then I think they will continue with even larger scale attacks on Russia, including on Russian nuclear triad. So I don't know, man. As I said, humanity's fate is being decided today, probably, or going to be decided today. because based on Russia's nuclear doctrine, if nuclear triad is attacked, that's a reason to take some strong action, to use nuclear weapons, basically, against attackers. Anne Roy is commenting, I'm sorry to say, but 80% of me says nothing will be done to retaliate her. Well, after so many strong statements from a number of high-ranking officials in past, after which there was not really follow-up steps. Obviously, there is such a attitude now in the world that Moscow will only make strong statements and that's it. I can understand why people think this way and why you think this way, Anne. But we just don't know. We just don't know what Moscow is gonna do, because this is today's attacks, these terrorist attacks on a railway network, including on passenger planes, and these massive attacks on Russian nuclear triad, Russian strategical aviation, is a red line that, well, I mean, if you allow this red line to be crossed, then I don't know. I mean, I don't know. I don't know. I think Russian leadership will struggle to not retaliate, to But I can understand your skepticism in this regard. And if Russian side will not retaliate, if Russian side will not deter collective West from further aggression, then of course they will continue and continue, and eventually, I don't know what's going to happen, but Kiam is commenting, Levant, please elaborate on your point that humanity is being decided now, fate of humanity. Well, what I said just now, dear friends, based on Russia's nuclear doctrine, if Russia's nuclear triad, one of the reasons why Russia may use nuclear weapons is if nuclear triad is attacked. And today, nuclear triad was attacked in massive scale. There was such instances before, by the way. This is not the first time when airfields were attacked, where strategical aviation is based. At one point, Kiev regime, or NATO member states, by the way, that are behind the Kiev regime, were targeting even Russia's early warning radar systems. That was also attack on Russian nuclear triad. And well, many experts worldwide were expecting that Russia will take some strong actions due to these attacks because it's a nuclear triad, right? But even though Russia had every reason to take some strong action after that, it did not happen. At least extreme force was not deployed. But now, I mean, there is videos, by the way, are circulating on internet. Yet again, if those videos are not generated by AI, then in those videos you can see how Russian strategical bombers are burning as a result of these attacks, right? Today's attacks. And I think right now, potentially, this is just my guess, dear friends, potentially Russian leadership, political and military leadership is discussing ways to retaliate and with what force. And I think nuclear strikes also will be considered on Russian enemies, on the countries that were involved in these attacks. That's what I mean, by the way, that today maybe fate of humanity will be decided. Because, Russia has, let's be, like direct. Russia has every reason now to take nuclear strikes on every country that was involved in this attack on Russian nuclear triad. It's a war, by the way. it's a declaration of war, 100%. It's act of war, right? So if Russia will retaliate with a strong force, then US might retaliate, then Russia will, and that's it. So things might escalate very quickly into full-scale nuclear war. That's what I mean, right? And that will mean end of human civilization as we knew it. But same time, you tell me, dear friends, if Moscow really has option to not retaliate with strong force, with extreme force. I don't know. As Annie Roy said, many people probably will think that Moscow might launch a couple of missiles into Kyiv-controlled territory, and that will be retaliation, because very few people expect some really strong actions from Russia, especially against NATO countries. Probably very few people think that Moscow might actually take action against military assets of the Western countries, as it was stated by a number of Russian high-ranking officials before long-range strikes began on Russia with NATO weapons. But as we all know, none of their military assets of involved countries, US, UK, France, Germany, or anyone else, was struck by Russia. So therefore, maybe nothing will happen really. I mean, maybe Moscow will just exercise restraint once again. Maybe, but yet again, I mean, this is a red line that I think. Remember, I was saying for a while. I mean, veterans of our community will agree with me. I was saying for so long that because of this constant escalation by collective West, at one point, Russian President Vladimir Putin will find himself in a situation when he can no longer exercise restraint. And I think potentially today is that day when he just would not be able to further exercise restraint, because this attack on Russian nuclear triad is just too big, right? But yet again, I don't know, dear friends. I'm gonna check right now. Some media outlets, maybe some statement was made by officials. RIA Novosti is saying nothing. Let's check on TASS. I mean, also no emergency statements, no statements yet. I mean, on Telegram, by the way, one of the channels are reporting that Russian delegation actually departed for Istanbul talks, allegedly. And Ukraine has also confirmed its participation, with their team once again to be led by Umerov, defense minister of this Western-backed terrorist regime. So, I mean, maybe nothing will happen, by the way. Maybe, it's all quite shocking, isn't it? Everything that is happening, by the way, right now is quite shocking. Yes, I mean, maybe if Russian delegation is already on its way in Istanbul, maybe Moscow will act as if nothing happened. I just don't know. I'm confused, quite. I don't know. Zarael is asking, how is the Russian Federation seeing cryptocurrencies, Levan, with the upcoming economy crash? Is gold and silver used in Russia? Well, as far as I can tell, Russian government was for liberation of their laws in regards to cryptocurrencies, and Russian ruble is also electronic ruble was introduced some time ago for businesses that they can use it. So I think Russia is on the path to completely legalize cryptocurrencies, at least some of the cryptocurrencies, and this field, and basically, how should I say, and put this field, this segment into economy, right? Integrate basically these cryptocurrencies and blockchain basically into economy. I think this is going to happen. So Russia is a pro cryptocurrency as far as I understand, and there are reports time to time. I do see some reports that some steps being done towards adaptation of these cryptocurrencies into economy, or the integration. Daniel Modus is commenting, I'm British and we do nothing without the US say so. Well, I think US was definitely engaged, involved in this attack, in planning, orchestrating this attack that happened today, and there might process, as I said, this is developing story, by the way, these attacks, and of course UK was involved also, and most likely they are two closest allies, isn't it? UK and US since the Second World War, at least. So whatever one country does, the other one is one way or another but involved in that. Stefan Heiss is asking, is a part of sanctions against Russia and China to deter US investors getting stuck or stock in their countries, stock in the bonds? UK is moving to steal pensions for UK 1% oligarchs. Well, it's I don't know, different when it comes to these sanctions on Russia and China. It is obviously attempt to basically deter investments into these countries from the West. This is obvious. The US clearly tries to reindustrialize itself, and with the sanctions and the tariffs, Washington probably hopes to achieve this. But when it comes to these pension funds and these kind of investments, I don't really know much about all this stuff, so I cannot give you answer in the field that my knowledge is loosely relevant. So, but sanctions itself, of course, one of the reasons why these sanctions being imposed is to deter any investments into economies of our here in Russia and in China, and tariffs do the same, by the way. These tariffs that US is imposing play same role. It's a deterrent to invest in these economies that are tariffed big time, and Trump is proposing to increase, for example, tariffs on steel imports to US up to 50% from 25%. Right, in a couple of days' time, that will happen. And this is also, attempt to deter investments into other countries and to force enterprises in these tariffed countries to move their manufacturing capabilities into US to further accelerate potentially reindustrialization of that country. Nikos is asking, Levan, you might not like reality, but this is it. The West is led by psychopaths and they are willing to even nuke Russia. Well, I don't like this reality, but I will agree with you that yes, this is the objective reality. Western ruling class will go all the way, if not deterred, and they should be deterred long ago. But if they are not deterred, at least now, then probably at one point, unfortunately, they will nuke Russia through Ukraine. Through Ukraine, by the way, I'm telling you, either today, in upcoming days, I think. A few days ago, by the way, in one of the updates, I said, isn't it, that I expect topic of transformation of Ukraine into this Western-backed terrorist regime of Zelensky into a nuclear-armed regime is going to be revived in the West, right? I just said it. I said it many times before, right? Many months ago. But just a couple of days ago, I also spoke about this topic and said that I expect in upcoming days, in upcoming weeks, this topic to be revived, and that's exactly what happened. Yesterday or day before, colonel of British Army on this forum in Odessa stated that UK should openly, by the way, that UK should assist Ukraine to become nuclear armed, right? And I think Kiev regime might make such announcement that they have obtained nuclear weapons at any day, at any point now, today, tomorrow, in a week time, or in a month's time. But that's the direction that West is moving for sure. And I was talking about it for a long time, right? And yes, at one point, West might use Ukraine as their tool to nuke Russia, some Russian cities or any place, basically, right? It is clear that they are well capable of orchestrating attacks inside the Russia, deep into Russian territory, and massive attacks, right? And if they can bring next to strategical airfield or not far away from there trucks full of drones, then they are capable of pulling off any other attacks, any other kind of attacks, including they can bring truck with their nuclear weapons in any city, right? And just detonate it. So I think we all are under nuclear threat here in Russia, and West will definitely go that length. If anybody has any doubts that Western ruling class will never even think about using this situation to basically nuke Russia through Ukrainian hands, then no, they will bother. They will. I think risk is real, and I don't like this. Obviously, I don't think many people likes this reality, but it is what it is. We are facing these risks, yes. Yet again, dear friends, if there will be any question or the comment through super chat on Rumble, of course, I will react on it first, and through support platforms, PayPal, Boosty, or So Daniela Modos is also asking, do you think Taurus missiles were used there? Not today. Not today. I think Taurus missiles already are in Kiev-controlled territory. Germany might claim that it's a combined project. It's not Taurus missiles, not German missiles, but it's Ukrainian missiles that was built as a result of cooperation of Ukrainian military-industrial complex and military-industrial complex in Germany or elsewhere in NATO member states. But I think long-range weapon systems with range of 500 and more kilometers already are in Kiev, and at some point probably will be used to strike deep into Russian territory. Point with Taurus is, dear friends, that Taurus is capable of carrying nuclear warhead. Based on my knowledge, and correct me if I'm wrong, but Storm Shadow and Scalp PG cruise missiles that were used for a long time now against Russia, British and French cruise missiles with a range of 300 kilometers about. Those missiles, as far as I know, are not nuclear capable, but Taurus missile is nuclear capable. And that is something to be concerned of course. Although SKO regime and NATO countries demonstrated they can bring trucks full of drones at any place here in Russia. And if today these trucks were full with drones, tomorrow there might be some atomic weapon inside, right? And just go off. So they don't really need long-range missiles to strike Russia with atomic weapons, with nuclear weapons. Well, let me also check the friends, some Telegram channels, maybe some breaking news. On DD Geopolitics, I'm reading right now, Ukrainian channel Resident UA writes, according to sources, the peace initiative was always said to be derailed by the British and Ukrainian intelligence services. A response from the Kremlin is now expected. Andrei Yermak maintained the appearance of negotiations, but in reality, no one intended to reach an agreement while a covert operation was being prepared. On that will now mark a significant escalation in this conflict. Well, I was saying straight away that globalists and globalist-controlled regimes in collective West, including UK, well, they would try whatever they can to derail this de-escalation process towards de-escalation, because they want to prolong this war. They want to destroy Russia, by the way. Let's say it as it is, right? Globalist, Western elites, Western ruling class, they want to destroy Russia, literally to destroy Russia, right? And to kill as many Russians as they possibly can. They want to kill us all, basically. That's what it is. They don't see us as a humans, right? They hate us so much so that they don't see us as a humans, man, right? Western elites. And they hate Russia. They won't destroy Russia, take control of Russian territory, and enrich themselves further, right? Because without resources, Europe is doomed, right? Some may argue US might still has some chances to maintain its relevance on geopolitical scale, but Europe is doomed without resources, and it does not have resources. And closest area where they can seek resources is Russia. And that's why, historically speaking, they are always attacking Russia, right? It's a resources battle. So, of course, they wanted to derail these talks. And even though I just reported some minutes ago that Russian delegation allegedly already took off for Istanbul to participate, I guess, in tomorrow's meeting. I mean, probably, we wouldn't be mistaken if we will say that there is a high chances that these talks or this attempt towards the escalation that was initiated, at least formally, by US is being derailed. Probably that's how it is. Well, only the geopolitics, I'm seeing now some photos. Well, Kiev regime is publishing now more and more videos and photos of their attack preparations for this attack. Well, they have a huge celebration, by the way. Obviously, they managed to pull off quite a serious attack on Russia. That's for sure. Yeah. Yes, RT is also, by the way, confirming that Russian team on their way to Istanbul right now. Vladimir Medinsky heading delegation as before. So maybe Moscow will just continue to exercise restraint or something. I don't know. At this point, it is difficult to say how Moscow will respond. But my initial reaction was that humanity's fate is about to be decided today because Russia's nuclear triad was attacked. What is there after that? Russian nuclear submarines to be blown up, or Russian silos, nuclear silos, all the red lines being crossed, including risk of direct nuclear attacks on Russia. They might actually, Western ruling class may actually go ahead now and not just give Zelensky green light to announce that they have nukes now, but Western ruling class may actually go ahead with their nuclear attack itself on Russia. Although they will use Ukraine as their proxy, of course. HG is commenting NATO has way overstepped and must get a harsh response from Kremlin or Russia is done. Well, many people probably think this way right now, that if Moscow will not react strongly, then, that will be maybe beginning of the end. I don't know, dear friends. I just don't know. Let's wait and see how Moscow will respond, because this is a big deal. This is a big deal. Thomas Sherion is commenting, Levon, do you think it will be a general or partial mobilization? I don't know, dear friends. I was saying for quite a while that maybe at some point Russia will need to do at least partial mobilization once again. So I expect mobilization to happen sometime in the future, maybe near future, maybe not, but this might happen. I wouldn't be surprised at all, and I did spoke about this many times during the live streams. So it all depends on the decision-making process in Kremlin, by the way. Moscow or Russian leadership was exercising restraint for so long that maybe they still believe that restraint is the way to go forward. So in that case, I don't know. I'm lost for words, by the way, really. I'm a bit shocked by developments today. Probably you can notice this, right? So, it may go either way. Maybe Moscow will just maintain cool, like, okay, a couple of missiles will be launched to strike something on Kyiv-controlled territory, and that's it, and then process will continue as before. Or maybe Moscow will say, you know what, that's the red line that we cannot allow to ignore. And maybe Russia will take some strong action. Maybe we will see some mobilization and full-scale preparation for real war. Maybe Russian militaries finally will maybe hands of Russian militaries will be untied finally, because all these 3 years, by the way, Russian militaries are fighting with both hands being tied behind their backs. That's what is going on, right? And maybe militaries will finally receive orders to do whatever is necessary with whatever force to neutralize enemies, right? And in that case, yes, we might see mobilization also. Zarel is commenting, maybe Russia should wipe out their news nuclear early warning system rather in Poland. I mean, yet again, we all understand that behind this attack on Russian nuclear triad was UK and US, right? Potentially France was informed about it, but this operation itself was definitely authorized by Trump and the Stammer, by leadership of two countries. And therefore, if Russia should retaliate on military assets of US and UK, first of all, not just on Kiev-controlled territory, but elsewhere also. And this radar that you mentioned in Poland is definitely a significant asset of US militaries, right? When it comes to UK, by the way, UK has one of the biggest airfields, military bases on Cyprus. That could be, potentially. I mean, targets can be anywhere, right? Russia has capabilities to take out any military facility of enemy, literally on any point, at any point on this planet, right? Question is, will Moscow retaliate? I just don't know. I mean, some other time, like 5 years ago, if you'd ask me that, if Russian strategical airfields or strategical aviation was attacked, would Russia retaliate with some extreme force? I would say yes. I mean, of course. I mean, how else? But now, after 3 years of special military operation and constant restraint that Russian leadership is exercising, I have some doubts that Russia will retaliate with strong force. I mean, yet again, we don't know all the information, right? We don't know what calculus of Kremlin is. And their judgment is based, of course, on not just information that we know from open sources, but their calculus is based on classified information, right? That we will never have access to. So therefore, I mean, who knows what their calculus is and what kind of actions they're gonna take. But this is definitely a big deal. I mean, can you imagine if US's strategical base was attacked from any country? By the way, US will probably obliterate that country in 24 hours. I mean, most likely, there can be no doubts about it, right? Probably that's what US would do. So therefore, yet again, based on, as far as I can tell, based on Russia's updated nuclear doctrine, attack on Russia's nuclear triad is a red line that, green lights Russian nuclear retaliation, right? But yet again, what Moscow will do, we just don't know. And because delegation is on its way to Istanbul, maybe Moscow will really just, take the punch and will continue whatever plans Kremlin has. I don't know. But this was a big punch, by the way, big strike on Russia, of course. You cannot downgrade level of these attacks on Russia. Terrorist attacks on railway network, and of course these attacks on airfields where strategical aviation is located, or which is part of Russia's nuclear triad. Relaxing Sounds is commenting, sorry for the basic question, but is strategical aviation still so crucial now that hypersonic missiles are available? Well, of course, strategical aviation is crucial because, first of all, range, right? Russia does have long-range weapon systems that can strike at any point on this planet, but these are intercontinental ballistic missiles, right? According to some reports, Russian forces already are receiving weapon systems that have almost aerial weapon systems that have almost unlimited range, that are also nuclear capable. And it has nuclear power source, by the way. That's why its range is almost unlimited. But it's not hypersonic, as far as I can tell. When it comes to hypersonic weapons, they have range. They have some limitations on range, right? And therefore, okay, strategical aviation gives you that additional edge. So you can fly towards the enemy, right, and launch missiles without entering its area, where air defense systems of enemy is operating, and the rest of the distance, well, then missiles will take care of that, right? So basically, strategical aviation gives you that additional edge, right, or the range. So they are important, of course, no doubts about that. And after all, strategical aviation is also used to launch cruise missiles with their ordinary warheads, right, with conventional warheads, and Russia was using strategical aviation to hit military and logistical infrastructure of the regime many times, right? So it is important. It is undoubtedly important, but first of all, we cannot downgrade the fact that strategical aviation is a part of nuclear triad. And today, Russia's nuclear triad was attacked in a way that it's absolutely unprecedented. And nothing like that had ever happened before. You know, Israel is also commenting, Levan, there won't be an escalation, but they will decisively strike back on Kiev, and it will hurt them now. Maybe. I don't know. I just don't know. Maybe there will be no strikes on Kiev also. I mean, on Kiev, where? If Russian leadership was about neutralizing leadership of enemy, then I mean, Bankova Street would be obliterated by now. Bankova is where these governmental offices are located in Kiev, right? So if Putin didn't authorize such action before, will he have authorized that now? I don't know. I mean, and even if so, let's say, what that will change in the calculus of globalists or the Western ruling class, Western NATO countries, let's say. It will change nothing. They will continue to use Ukraine as their proxy, right? And they will continue to strike in bigger and bigger and bigger ways here in Russia. But I mean, yet again, there is no more red lines, I guess. After this attack, global Western elites demonstrated, NATO is saying openly that, you know what, there is no red lines for us. We can do whatever we want against you, and that's it, right? This is a statement, by the way, that NATO is making. So, I don't know what Russia gonna do. If I was a Russian leadership, decision maker, I know what I would do, for sure. And but it's not me there, isn't it? It's crazy, man. It's crazy what is happening. Let me also check a few media outlets, by the way. Maybe there is some breaking news. Nothing. RIA Novosti is not even writing, at least on its internet page, anything about these attacks, by the way. I don't know. So maybe there will be no retaliation whatsoever from Russia. You know. Travis Smith is commenting, Levan, you are emotional, and it's understandable, but Russia was hit harder in World War II, so it will just continue with this SMO. I mean, I'm emotional, or of course I am, because it's Russia that was attacked, right? Russia's nuclear triad, and of course, Russia had to deal with much more issues, much incomparably bigger issues, historically speaking. But I mean, still, nevertheless, I mean, what I'm saying is that these attacks on Russian nuclear triad is a clearly message from the collective West that they're going to continue and continue and continue until they will destroy Russia. They are not stopping. Either Russia will stop them, and that can be done only with extreme force, or they will continue until they will destroy Russia. That's how it is. And one should keep in mind, dear friends, that NATO countries, we are talking about a few dozen of countries, right? And economical and military potential in the long run, it's much bigger, and human potential on the Western side in this case it's much bigger than Russia, right? It's just mathematics, it's numbers, right? So question is how long Kremlin will exercise restraint until decisions will be made to deter Western ruling class. That is not going to stop otherwise, right? That's what this question is, and that's why maybe I'm a bit emotional, because I'm telling you, dear friends, just mark my word, how many times I have to be correct in my predictions, just mark my words, by the way, it's only a matter of time, and Western elites will authorize Kiev regime to announce that they have obtained atomic weapons. And this might happen any day now. And then, we might face nuclear attacks. Kiev regime, Western elites can use Kiev regime to basically detonate nuclear devices on Russian territory, and they will try to maintain plausible deniability. You know what? It's a Kiev regime. It's not us. We have nothing to do with it. It's them, right? Like they will say now. They will say that it's Kiev regime that attacked Russian airfields. We just don't knew about it. We have nothing to do with it, right? So, I mean, should Moscow wait until Russia is attacked with atomic weapons before Moscow will take some actions that will actually deter Western ruling class, or such action should be taken now? That's the question that I have personally, for example, right? Because if Kremlin continues this exercise, longer Kremlin continues exercise of restraint, more and more Russians will die, in my personal opinion. That's just how it is. And more harm will be done to Russia. While globalists and their puppet regimes in the West are enjoying impunity, harming Russians, harming Russia with total impunity, until now at least, right? That's what is their stuff that is bothering me. We have to retaliate, man. We have to retaliate, and they're hard. So much so that so-called elites in the West will be terrified, right, will be terrified with the prospects for them, for their tomorrow. That's what has to be done, by the way. And if I was in charge, trust me, I would do it, man. I would do it, right? And the Western so-called elites will on their knees plea to, and it will take only half an hour to me personally. I will give them half an hour just to pray, and say last goodbyes to their loved ones, and then Western elites would die if I was in charge, by the way. That's how it is, man. And you can call it emotional or not, but I know one thing: enemies should be exterminated. That's it, man. There are enemies that you cannot have a dialogue. You cannot try to achieve some de-escalation with their negotiations, and the Western ruling class is such an enemy. You cannot ever trust them. You can only exterminate them, and that's how it is. Unfortunately, in history, this kind of stuff happens when you have a just mortal enemy that are either you or your enemy. And right now we are in that situation, I think. And only theoretical chance to somehow deter this enemy, Western ruling class, is extreme force. And I think Moscow is not going to use it. And that will mean more harm for Russia, while Western elites will continue to enjoy, their crimes with impunity. Zariel is also commenting, please understand that my question is directly related to the state of the global military thinking. They need war to kill their debt. China and Russia are their way out for NATO if they win. Yes, war is always being used by the Western ruling class as their opportunity to deal with some fundamental issues. One should keep in mind that after First World War, golden age for US has started after First World War, right? US become somewhat relevant state on the geopolitical map, and after Second World War, US was a world superpower, right? So they know how to use war for certain purposes, right? And yes, probably they're pushing for. I'm not sure they are pushing for World War III, because how are they gonna survive? By the way, they might destroy now. US and UK, NATO countries might destroy now a couple of Russian strategical bombers, but if it goes down to full scale war, then Russia has submarines that can launch silos of missiles with nuclear warheads. They are ground-based long-range missile systems, nuclear-tipped. How West gonna survive? How Western elites gonna survive such a war if it goes down this bad? I don't know. Maybe they think they can intercept majority of the weapons that Russia will send or something as a retaliation. It's crazy times, man. Nidish Kumar is commenting, Levan, why did you change the stream timing suddenly? Oh yes, it was my mistake, Nidish. Sorry, dear friends, about that. I by mistake uh, I started stream without. I launched stream without paying attention to timing. Uh, for whatever reason, I was thinking that I changed the time for 1500 hours, but I did not. While I was planning to have a live stream on 1500 hours, so it was my mistake. It was just my mistake. Sorry for that. And 3 o'clock, because I think for the future, I mean, 3 o'clock live streams, these community chats probably will be okay. I hope so with our community because it's a Sunday, isn't it? And after this stream, I plan to go for a little walk together with the family members. So, from Monday to Friday, work days, I have live streams or news updates every day. I want Saturday to be day off, and on Sundays, one live stream, news update, community chat about 3 o'clock when it's possible. Probably that will do so that I will have evening time to spend with family and your friends. We can actually. I had all different plan, by the way, about this live stream, right? But these developments, these strikes on Russian nuclear triad, of course, influenced schedule. But I was planning to summarize last 2 weeks of this new iteration of the project, which is live streams as a news update and short videos. And I had something to say about that, but it's not that relevant now. Maybe next week. Um, so there, Travis Smith is commenting. Russian Twitter is reporting that their Tu-95 images are fake. Russian mayor has spoken. I mean, if that video is fake, oh, that would be great news, by the way. But yet again, I don't know. Let's wait for official statements from officials. Murphy is commenting US has zero intention of reindustrializing anything. I don't know, maybe. I mean, people, members of our community from US probably know, not probably, definitely know better than I do, situation in US economy and their, US industries. So maybe it's all just talks. Nidish Kumar is commenting, Levant Somalia is going to ignite again. Well, I heard I read some news about Somalia recently. I just can't remember what was that term. But, maybe this territory has a strategical location, isn't it? And it's not just Somalia, but also Somaliland, right? And maybe between Mogadishu and this other part, some direct confrontation will start. Somaliland is supported by Ethiopia, I believe, right? They want access, to gain access to the sea and build military bases there or something like that. So there are, regional countries that have some interests in Somalia, Somaliland, and also global powers that also have some interests. So I would not be surprised at all. I did not pay much attention to this part of this world, at least recently. But, I take your word for that. If you think Somalia is about to explode, then yeah, I guess that's how it's gonna be. because you already proved many times that your level of knowledge uh, on geopolitical developments is extremely high, sir. And I appreciate that our community is that good in all this stuff, man. I said many times, isn't it, that every time, by the way, we have this community chat, I learn something new, literally every time, and that's why it's this great. Zariel is also commenting the worst part of this crop. The Western liars will now printer in the media. Ukraine makes decisive strike back on Russia. Can the war be changed? It's just sickening, and I agree with you absolutely, Zariel. Of course, now we're gonna see wave after wave of this narratives being created that Kyiv regime is well capable of turning the tide. It's just about more weapons and more money and they will achieve strategical defeat of Russia. And well, today's strike on Russia definitely will be used as main or one of their key uh, components of this new narrative, for sure, 100%. Let me check once again, dear friends, if any updates. Well, videos are circulating on internet when ordinary people, by the way, they notice that from this truck, drones were taking off. Ordinary people just try to jump on their truck and stop these drones. Probably they managed successfully to, neutralize at least some of the drones, but well, unfortunately, attack is well too bad, man. And more videos being released by this Western-backed terrorist regime of Zelensky of their attacks on Russian planes. So I don't know, maybe these all are AI generated, but seems like many Telegram channels in Russian segment believe that this is real videos. Question is, how will Moscow respond on that? That's the only question I have right now, really. If Moscow continues to exercise restraint further, then there are much bigger attacks to be expected because, of course, that will embolden NATO even further. If Russia will retaliate with their extreme force, then that might deter, at least somewhat deter Western elites. We will see. And by the way, one should keep in mind that this nuclear triad, these attacks on these airfields, by the way, where strategical aviation is located, is also, I mean, potentially provocation of nuclear explosions, because how anybody knows that there are no nuclear warheads there, either in the planes or on the base in general. It's a strategical aviation, isn't it? And a key point of strategical aviation is to deliver nuclear strike. That's the main reason these forces exist, right? Conventional weapons, that's a secondary, but primary reason why strategical aviation exists is to deliver nuclear strike on enemy, right? So Um, Zarael is commenting, smaller tactical warheads are possible but difficult to assemble. I guess you are talking about transformation of Kiev regime into a nuclear armed regime. And well, I was talking about this possibility for a very, very long time now, isn't it? Because all these publications in the Western so-called media, all these statements of public figures that Kiev regime has enough radioactive materials to build their 500 atomic bombs, basic atomic bombs, but still, all these statements that Kiev regime has enough expertise to do so. This was not for nothing, right? And when big names in the Western media are pushing these narratives, that means there is certain interest in that, right? This is not random stuff. And I guess my reading is correct because just a couple of days ago, I said that in upcoming days, max several weeks, I expect this topic of transformation of Kiev regime into a nuclear armed regime to be revived again, because this is clearly next phase that globalists are willing to go in this proxy war against Russia. And it only took like a couple of days, right? And yesterday was, or day before, this colonel of British Armed Forces during the forum openly said that UK should assist the Kiev regime to, become nuclear armed regime, and he was applauded, right? These statements were received well. So why he said this? Of course, there is no way that this colonel of British Armed Forces did talk about transformation of Kiev regime into a nuclear armed regime. Of course, he talked about this with the authorization from the London. That's the only explanation, right? That means potentially British and French, potentially US physicists, military experts basically in nuclear weapons, probably they already assembled at least a number of atomic bombs, and those atomic bombs probably already are on Kiev controlled territory. So that I expect now at any point, any day, announcement from Kiev regime that they are nuclear armed regime now. It's going to happen. And I was predicting this for how long? I mean, feels like since forever. And if I was able to read this big picture, I wonder why Moscow was unable to do so. Or if they were able to read this picture same way, then, where is the preventive actions? Why I did not see any preemptive actions to make sure that this topic of transformation of Kiev regime into a nuclear armed regime would not be even considered by the West. But I think it's already a reality. I think Kiev regime, I think NATO countries, US, UK, they already have several atomic devices on Kiev controlled territory and will use it when they will, on time of their choosing. But I think formally, Kiev regime is already nuclear armed regime. Although control over the nuclear devices, of course, will be in hands of US or UK, or both. After all, both countries are run by one gang, isn't it? We can call them globalists or whatever, but it's a one group, basically, that pulls the strings all over the collective West. Different, sorry if I miss your question. Banzo Beans is commenting under hello, Banzo. Banzo is a moderator on Rumble. And many thanks to you for helping me uh, with the moderation and in general. Uh, John is of course one of the veterans, by the way, of our community, and he's commenting. We are witnessing war games from a small club of psychopaths using their resources they control without needing their population involved or without in any way working towards their benefit. Yes, I agree with you 100%. These people are psychopaths, by the way, crazies, literally crazies. I mean, whoever is in charge of collective West, really in charge, these people cannot be sane, by the way. They are risking World War III. They are risking annihilation of human civilization. Uh, I mean, only psychopaths, only truly insane people can go that far, right? In whatever ambitions they have, only truly insane people can do this, and they are. And unfortunately, they control one of the most powerful countries in this world, U.S., major nuclear power, UK and France, also nuclear countries. It's insane, man, what is happening. And I'm not sure, by the way, humanity will manage to survive 20. Things are developing in a way that I'm not really that confident that humanity will survive 21st century, man. I'm not sure we will manage to reach even middle of this century. Things are going that bad. You know, I don't know. Uh, Travis Smith, I have to, you know, ban you because it seems like you are just messing around. So, if you have nothing to say, don't say nothing, right? But, why you are messing around, by the way? If you want to troll, go somewhere else and, enjoy yourself there. Oh, blin. So, SG is also commenting, this attack is a typical British-style terror operation, so direct NATO attacker. Yes, it is. I mean, obviously, no one gonna believe that this attack, quite a well-organized or large-scale attack on Russia, was done by this Zelensky's regime. By the way, no one gonna buy this, right? Zelensky's regime is a cover for NATO to harm Russia as much as they can, and they can blame Kyiv regime for everything, literally, right? That's what they do, by the way. While playing this plausible deniability, but obviously this is direct attack of NATO on Russian Federation, on Russia's nuclear triad. There is no other way around it, by the way. It is what it is, right? Daniela Modos Qatar is commenting. Daniela is commenting. Levan DD Geopolitics is saying their driver of the truck was attacked. He was killed, by the way. Driver of one of the trucks, at least. I don't know how many trucks were involved. I just know that trucks were used to deliver drones, and I saw a report on one of the channels. I don't remember where, but yes, driver was attacked potentially by just passers-by and they're strangled or something like that. And earlier there was reports that maybe driver did not even know cargo that he was carrying. I don't know, but I saw some reports on the Telegram earlier that driver was strangled. But this is allegedly. I mean, this is all preliminary data that we are operating right now with. But yes, I mean, thank you for information, Daniela. Yes, I know that such information is circulating. Let me check once again, maybe some statement. Pum, pum, pum. No, no official statements yet from about these attacks. Or at least not on mainstream media, and I didn't see nothing also on few Telegram channels that I just checked. So we will learn something for tomorrow morning, dear friends. Tomorrow on working days, my live streams, morning news live streams are starting at 11 o'clock. So tomorrow at 11 Moscow time, of course, I will share whatever additional information will be available. Maybe um, uh, maybe we will see some official statements from state institutions. Let's see. Pum, pum, pum. Uh, Probably I missed some questions, dear friends. Sorry about that. And the live stream is already more than 1.5 hours. So maybe it will be better if I will end this stream. On that, Nidish Kumar is commenting, Levon, why don't China create a narrative supporting Russia? They are good at information warfare. I understand that very well in India, Pakistan clash. Well, I mean, what is happening now is good for China. I mean, if we are being cynical right now, if we put aside all the emotions and just take situation as it is, China is this situation is quite beneficial for China, isn't it? Because Western countries, potential enemies of China, are weakened by this proxy war that they are waging against Russia, and Russia itself is maybe military. Russian military is gaining experience and becoming stronger, but Russia is also spending quite resources to continue this struggle, isn't it? And I think in cynical ways, that is quite something that China might see as a beneficial for them, right? And that's why I think they might directly or indirectly support both sides to prolong this proxy war as long as possible, because yet again that benefits China in yet again cynical ways. I'm not saying that that's necessarily the reason why China is not openly supporting Russia, still plays neutral, but that's one of the reasons, I guess. And I think I'm not far away from truth. I think that's the calculus of China. That the longer this conflict continues, better for them, because West is getting weaker, Russia is getting Russia is wasting resources on this struggle, and you know, technically speaking, Russia is also getting weaker. By the way, I mean, maybe army is most capable right now in the world, ground forces at least. But when countries, you know, spending that much resources, human and otherwise, uh, it's not makes any country stronger, right? So I think that's their vision of China, Chinese leadership, and they would probably prefer to, just stay away, support in some ways both sides to further prolong this conflict, and get prepared meanwhile for a potential clash with very same West, or who knows, maybe even with Russia. Who knows what kind of plans Beijing has, by the way, right? Um, Apocalypse is commenting, even if all this bad news is true, Russia still winning their attrition war against NATO, and this is true. I agree absolutely. Russia will win anyways. By the way, I mean, no one should have any doubts about that. Of course, Russia will prevail, and their victory will be on Russian side, 100%. By the way, there can be no doubts about that. Question is the cost. That's what worries me. That longer this conflict continues, more and more costly it is becoming. And now, in my personal reading of the big picture, Russia is facing potential nuclear threat from NATO, from NATO's proxy Ukraine, right? And just mark my word, by the way, when you will hear that Kiev regime announced that they are nuclear regime now, well, probably you will remember that what Levan was talking about. It seems forever, right? That this will happen. It's going to happen, by the way, And NATO collective West, I mean, I might actually use atomic weapons against Russia to force Moscow to basically capitulate under the nuclear blackmail, right? But I don't think they're going to succeed, by the way. Russia will win anyways, right? Russia is on right side of history, so Russia will win. Nidish Kumar is commenting, Levan, how much deep does UAE involved in Sudan conflict goes? Do you have any idea? Not really. Not really. I know UAE is involved in quite a number of regional conflicts in Africa. So UAE is involved in Libya. UAE is involved in Yemen. Was involved at least. Sudan. Just about everywhere, right? In central northern Eastern Africa. But how deep this goes, I don't really know much about it. But UAE is quite active, by the way. Some people may think, when you say UAE, people might, have an impression that it's just this Dubai and Abu Dhabi and that skyscrapers and all that kind of stuff. While in reality, UAE is quite actively involved in regional policies, by the way, in the Middle East and in Africa, elsewhere too, by the way, and even not just politically or ideologically, but militarily also, right? So that much I know, but to go into some details, my knowledge is not that deeper. I'm not going to tell you that I was interested really to learn much about UAE's operations in the region. I just know some basic stuff really in this regard. But they are quite active. That's for sure. And also, this is commenting, Levan, if UK gives nukes to Ukraine, then it can be played from other side as well. Nukes to Houthis, Cuba, etc. Does that want to mess up nuclear non-proliferation? Well, point is that you see Russia is acting with extreme restraint, right? So I don't think Moscow will even consider such a stuff to transfer nuclear technology, military nuclear technology, or their warheads itself to anybody, literally, right? While Western ruling class, these are scum of humanity. Western ruling class is literally scum of humanity. They are capable of absolutely anything, literally anything, right? And therefore, I have no doubts. I just have no doubts that they already built at least several nukes. I cannot know for sure number of these atomic bombs. It can be basic atomic bombs, 5-10 kilotons each, maybe a little more, little less, but it's still huge, isn't it? Hiroshima explosion was about 15 kilotons, right? So it could be basic atomic bombs, so that London and Washington and all the other NATO capitals will say that it's Kiev regime itself that developed these basic atomic bombs. It would be, nuclear materials will be used from Ukraine in these bombs, because nuclear materials can be traced back to a nuclear reactor. That's how it works. You can actually trace nuclear material through the reactor where it was generated. So they will use nuclear materials from Ukraine, right? Build the atomic bomb and just deliver it, right? And they will be in control, by the way, if and when they will deploy these weapons against Russia. They will just conduct whole operation, and they will just say it was Ukraine, and Kiev regime will say it was them, right? Like they did today after these attacks on Russian nuclear triad, Russian strategical aviation. Kiev regime said it was them, but of course, all this operation was organized and supported by US and UK, first of all. But I don't think Russian leadership will even consider to transfer nuclear warheads to any side, really. Um, Dear friends, if I may, I will end this live stream now. It's almost 2 hours, isn't it? And we had quite a good conversation, and I did share what was latest. Let me check once again. Okay, no, they are just additional, some nuances, details about these attacks. No official statement from Moscow on the matter. So I guess I did provide you with what was known for this moment. Hopefully, I did a good job on that. Thank you, all dear friends, for your attention, for your support. Have a peaceful, nice, wonderful day, and take care. See you tomorrow.